Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Raw Report, episode 5. I'm your host, Jerry, along with my co-host, Bone Santana and X. And today we'll be discussing the top 15 tight ends of the league with the upcoming fantasy football season in full swing. And we'll also be discussing the top 25 quarterbacks for your league upcoming draft, if you haven't already done so. And without further ado, I'm going to send it to the first pick with my guy over here, X. I'm sorry, Bones, you got the first pick. So without further ado, go right ahead, my brother.
Unanimous, Travis Kelce, Kansas City. Unanimous pick, superstar, tight end number one, all across the board. Doesn't matter what kind of league, league you're in, PPR. However the point system may be set up in your league, Travis Kelce is the guy that you want to go for in tight end, without question.
Right,
yeah, it's almost like a hands down.
Yeah, I'll go with that one too. Kelce's definitely the best tight end in any league. It doesn't really matter. I remember being high on him a few years ago, and then he just took off, and he's been the tight end one for quite some time. And and if you're gonna take a tight end in the first or second round, it's gonna be him. He's the first guy to get off the board. There's no thinking about it. Second pick, who you got, Jerry?
I'm going to have to go with my guy, Mark Andrews. He was just a fantasy football monster last year, putting up crazy amount of stats out there in Baltimore. And regardless of the running game that they do have and what they have established, Lamar came in at 230 pounds this year. We'll get to him with a little bit later, but they're still going to end up running the ball. He's still going to end up passing the ball. And Mark Andrews was just a beast, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns. He's going to be a standout in this upcoming fantasy football season. So that's my second pick.
Yeah, I like that pick too, especially they traded Hollywood. So he's going to have more targets to, get thrown at him. With the third pick, I'll take Kyle Pitts. I think, for what you just said, no one saw Andrews getting 1,300 yards. And if there's a tight end that could get it this year, I think it's Kyle Pitts. He could lead the tight ends in receiving yards, in my opinion. Atlanta does not have many Falcons. It's a great pick. I also like the handcuff Drake London, the first-round receiver they took as well. You might get him in the later rounds. But I think it's a solid handcuff going in. I think Kyle Pitts is due for a great year. They'll have some good targets. And it doesn't matter who their quarterback is. He's going to need Kyle Pitts. So we'll see what they do.
I like that. That's a young ascending player. And like you said, he's going to be one, if not the primary target in Atlanta.
Right. There's no question.
Coming up with the next pick, I got Las Vegas' very own and forgotten in some cases, Darren Waller.
Yeah.
Okay? That boy's going to be a monster, only a monster. He's going to be one of the perfect safety nets for Derek Carr. If the receivers ain't cutting it, Darren Waller going to be right there because he's a matchup monster. Almost at some point, 2 to 3 years ago, at some point, he was neck to neck with Kelce when it came to talk about tight end one overall. A couple injuries have slowed him down, but he's still a production monster. Look out for if you're still out there drafting for tight ends, Waller's your guy to go.
Yeah, I think he's a great tight end. I just feel like, with the acquisition of Devontae Adams, he's not going to get the same targets. He's not going to get the same production. He's still going to be one of the better, tight ends in the league, but I don't think he's top 5 anymore like he once was. But he'll still get it done.
Mm-hmm. I got to disagree. I'm huge on Vegas this year. I really think he's going to put up the same thing that he did last year. They're fully stacked right now. They got Renfrow, they got Devontae Adams, they got, Waller as well, and they got Josh Jacobs in the back. They're stacked. Derek Carr can throw the ball in any direction he like, but he's definitely going to be throwing the ball to his tight end, you best believe. And barring any type of injury, I just think he's going to be very consistent. He's a very big guy. And like I said, he's very versatile in his position. So I really think he's going to do amazing things out in Vegas. He's going to continue to do so for a long time. And again, barring injury, if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be having a breakout season, guys.
Facts. I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be tight end one. I don't think he has the potential to be tight end one. That's saying a lot, though. I just don't see him in the same tier as Kittles, Andrew, and I think Pitts will join that list. And Waller has been that for a few years. But I just think I don't think he'll get 140 targets this year. He'll probably go down to like 100, 120, and maybe he'll get his 60, 70 receptions. But I don't think he passes that 1,000-yard mark, or he just passes it, like he barely passes it. So I mean,
Not
he's
not in
great for a
not
tight
in
end.
yardage, not in yardage, but he'll definitely be a red zone target.
Yeah, he will be. He will be. People go early on him too, depending on your draft. And if you got a Raiders fan or a Waller fan who's got it done for them in the past, they'll go early on him because he's a great name and you remember him. But I don't think he's gonna be the same, and I think there's gonna be some new tight ends to emerge on the scene.
Okay.
That's good. My next pick, I'm gonna go with George Kittle. I think he's gonna continue to be a solid contributor to the 49ers. They got Trey Lance now under the gun. He had over 70 receptions last year, over 900 yards, over 5 touchdowns. PPR monster, guys. I think he's a no-brainer as far as the drafts go. You got to have George Kittle on your team. He's one of the very, few top 5 tight ends that you can rely on week in and week out. And I think he'll be a great addition to anybody's team out there.
I agree with that. He's a monster.
Yeah.
One of the best two-way tight end. Blocking in the running game, can also run the ball in certain handoffs because because of the offense they run over there in San Fran. But his route running, top tier.
Yeah, Kittle's still a bad boy. They still, they're gonna run the ball through him. We know he's one of their primary targets. We know one thing about him later on in the year, when other people run out of gas, he's still on a full tank.
That's
It doesn't
right.
matter who it is. It doesn't matter if Debo goes down. It doesn't matter if Ayuk doesn't produce. Kittle's gonna step up.
Huge motor.
Yeah,
Huge motor.
I don't think it matters whether it's Garoppolo or it's Trey Lance under center this year. I think Kittle's going to get his yards. He's going to get his own touches, and he's going to have another monster year.
Yeah, for sure.
Not my favorite part of this segment. That's the other tight ends. I think everybody that we name is pretty much a high end target.
Yeah,
maybe first or second option in their own respective offense. Now we go into
the lower tier tight ends, baby. This is gonna go down very quickly here.
Lower tier. I got the next pick. I'll be taking T.J. Hawkinson. I think he's another. He's another young tight end. He's gonna emerge on the scene. He's already emerged on the scene. His over-under nearly every week is 0.5 touchdowns, meaning will he get a touchdown or not? He started his career with Matt Stafford. I guess he learned more so how to be a professional, how to go about the game. I think he had a great relationship with him. That carried over to Jared Goff last year. He put up, some good numbers last year. I think year 2 with Jared Goff under center is going to be his 3rd year in the league. I think he'll take another jump forward. He'll get another big tight end contract after having a great year. I think he's hungry for a good year. And I think Jared Goff wants to use him as a primary target to get this kid paid. He wants to get him paid. They're not going to win a Super Bowl this year. They know that. But at least,
they know that.
The Lions ain't winning no Super Bowl. But, they might compete in a few games. They might, beat the Vikings or beat the Packers one week. But he'll be a big part of it, and he'll have some great weeks. T.J. Hawkinson is going to be another tight end to emerge big on the scene this year.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that always kind of flew under the radar. He doesn't make a lot of noise, but he can be very consistent, man, week in and week out. I like your pick.
Right. All right, who you got with the next pick? Bones. I think it's Bones' pick.
Well, for me, I'm gonna go with a guy who doesn't get a lot of notoriety, but he's definitely a good safety net and a consistent target. Dallas, tight end, Schultz. We all know the running game is starting to diminish over there.
Schultz.
Diminish over there, So I think last year, Dak, aside from the games that he missed, where he was the focal point. It's definitely a passing team now, for the most part, and they've shown it. They've shown that that they're willing to let them the game ride on Dak's arm rather than Zeke or Tony. So I'm gonna go with Schultz. He's gonna be a guy that's if you're still looking for a tight end out there in the tight end league, who's definitely gonna get touches. Definitely, he's gonna get some red zone targets. Big boy, can't go wrong.
He's gonna be a value pick. So I'm gonna go get him maybe in the later rounds, or not later rounds, but for tight ends, he's gonna go after the guys we mentioned. But he might be in that tier. He's another guy that can solidify himself, especially with the departure of Amari Cooper. It's gonna free up some time for him. So let's see if he can break that 500-yard mark this year. Maybe get 700 yards. Maybe what if he gets 800 yards? Get some great blocks. He can be productive. He's one of those key players. He can be an X factor for the Cowboys.
And now that talking about the Cowboys, James Washington went down today, as a matter of fact, with a broken foot. So that by default is going to make CeeDee Lamb the WR1 in the Cowboys roster. So that, he is something to see, because he's going to end up taking up the workload for whoever else is not coming through for the Cowboys. I don't expect the Cowboys to have a good season at all, especially since Jerry Jones is applying pressure to Zeke and Dak. And he's expecting nothing but perfection, which we all know is going to be a disaster, but we don't know that yet, right? So, yeah, it's a great pick, man. I really like the direction you got going on there. With my next pick, I'm gonna go with Dallas Goedert, my Philadelphia Eagles, baby. And Dallas Goedert took Zach. With all respect, he took Zach Ertz's job out in Philly, man. Out producing him, out receiving him. He had over 50 touches last year. And his production was very good. I just think I just want to see him, produce more touchdowns. He's great with the receptions. He's great with the yardage. I want to see him get more touchdowns, but that's going to be tough with the new addition of the receiving core out in Philly. But we'll see what happens. I think if Dallas Goedert is the next, the next win at tight end in Philly after the Zach Ertz era. And, again, much respect to Zach Ertz. He's one of my favorite tight ends. But Dallas Goedert is that guy out in Philly, baby.
Yeah, I like that Goddard pick. I think he is a great tight end. He's going to be good. He took Zach Ertz's job, and I think it was also partly to the contract issue that Arizona was just willing to pay him. And for that reason, I think I got Goddard above Ertz, but the next pick after Goddard, I would take Ertz. I think Ertz is that next pick right after Goddard.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's going to go Schultz, Goddard, Ertz in that order. And especially with DeAndre Hopkins having to serve a 6-game suspension due to testing positive for PEDs.
That's a great point.
Ertz is going to get a couple weeks where he might be the focal point. He's going to have at least a few big games if Hopkins can't get out there. And, this is the first few weeks. However, you can, jump out to some early wins if you're in fantasy. And I think the Cardinals could use him early on.
You're right. Especially in an RPO offense. The last two guys that we just mentioned, they're going to run an RPO offense, right? And tight ends usually see some benefits off of that. They're now involved in toss outs. They're not involved in tight end screens. Instead of being wide receiver screens, now the tight end's also in play.
All right.
So that's also going to boost up, their catches, their yards, their yak, hopefully touchdowns. Now I want to keep the same streak going and putting in my hot take. Miami, Mike Gesicki. Another tight end.
I knew you were going there.
Another tight end that's going to benefit from Tua, baby. Woo! Listen, like I said before, another tight end and an RPO offense, right? And who's the mastermind behind it? McDaniel. You're going to hear me say that a lot. That's what everybody in the league is saying, and that's what I'm sticking on right there. He's going to benefit because of all the attention that downfield is going to warrant. You got Waddle down there. You got Hill down there. You got the receiver that Dallas lost out there in Williams. Yo, Gesicki's going to be open with the second or with multiple second string linebackers, because the linebacker first string linebacker is going to be out there trying to be in cover 2 or 3. He's going to see secondary protection coverage.
The only reason why I even like I like your pick is because I know Tua can't throw the ball that far. So
Oh
I
my
think
God.
he's gonna end up picking up the slack for whatever he
Oh
can throw
my
down the
God.
field. All right.
I'm taking all of these clips and created a montage, and I expect a formal public apology from both of you NFC East loving hoes.
Ooh. Oh, by the way, the Miami Dolphins played for the Philadelphia Eagles in the preseason. I'll see you there, son.
All
Oh,
right.
getting tickets. Are we going to take the Giants fan with us, or is he not invited?
You're more than welcome to come. We'll be podcasting from the damn stands, baby. Let's go 100 section. I'm down 50-yard line.
You can't say with us because you betrayed Eli Manning. I'll never forgive you.
All right, so with my next pick, I'm gonna go with Dawson Knox. He was just a
Oh,
top 10 touchdown contributor last year. He has Josh Allen, which is a stud out here in the East. And I think he's going to do a lot more of the same. I want to see him get more receptions, if possible, 20 more receptions than last year. He had about 50. And we can always use more yardage, more touchdowns. I want to see him go into the top 5 of receiving touchdowns. But he put up 9 last year, which you could just imagine, especially in our PPR league. It's about 6 points per touchdown. So he was just banking for our guys last year. So I think he's a great addition.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I think he's he's set for a big year. I think he could have one of those years where it's a sleeper year. Josh Allen's going to put up his numbers. We know Diggs is going to put up his numbers. And if you got Diggs in one league and in another league you don't have Diggs and you need a tight end, Knox is one of those guys you can get. That's a good pivot. You have Diggs in one, Knox in another, and one of them, they're going to break out. Knox, he's easily a tight end that can have 2-3 touchdowns in a game out of nowhere, and have 3-4 targets. He's one of those guys. He frees up in the end zone. So I think Knox is a good pick there. Right after him in that range, I'll take a person I like as well. He's on the Pittsburgh Steelers. We know they're going to have a young quarterback by the name of Kenny Pickett. I think he's going to be a great addition to that team. I think Pat Freiermuth is that tight end that you can, he's going to get some looks.
Nice. Very nice. I like that.
It's not going to be all about Deontay Johnson and what's his name, and Claypool anymore. I think Freiermuth can take in some targets, and I think they fall back from using Najee Harris so much. They're still going to rely heavy on him, but I don't think he'll get the same amount of targets. And then you have Freiermuth who can step up. He can get those targets. He can catch the ball and take a hit, even though he dropped a game winner. Last year, although he got popped. But he's a great tight end, and I got Freiermuth right after Knox in about that range, pretty much. Top, what is it? Top 10? Was that the 10th pick?
Guy who I consider very similar to out there in Pittsburgh, New England, Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry is pretty good. I think now that Matt Patricia's out there, they're going to utilize him a little bit better. Mac Jones is doing what he got to do. He's gotten significantly better, and I hear Belichick speaking wonders of him, contrary to what he did with Tom Brady.
Yeah, and, we'll see, man. We'll see how that goes. Let's be honest to the fans. After this name, the talent in tight end falls very, very, very steeply. At that point in time, you're just kind of scratching, for talent anywhere that you can find it. If you need more than 12 serviceable tight ends, you're in a crazy 14, 16-man league, and I wish you the best.
Yeah, those leagues are a headache, man. Those sound like a real tough time there, man.
Speaking of, I got a question for the fans. All right, check this out. This is my crazy proposal coming up for one of the positions in the future season. I propose to eliminate the tight end slot altogether from the roster and adding an extra flex because there is a lack of tight ends out there. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't draft tight ends. Obviously, you'll be able to put tight ends in flex, in flex positions. Not eliminating tight end players at all. It's just the tight end roster spot. Because since there's so few, some of us, some of the players that have the lesser picks are forced to take tight ends who really won't produce. And I think that hinders the competition all around.
Just tell us you don't know football, man. Come on, bro.
Oh my God! Here comes that hater. Here comes a guy that takes. Here comes a guy that takes Kelsey every third round every year.
First. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so we're gonna leave that for the fantasy football episode where we go ahead and discuss the league and the opposing proposals. But I see what you mean. There's not that many tight ends in the league, and I think it might be a good idea down the line. I mean, in our league we opted to basically
take
out the kickers, and we no longer have kickers in our league. That was just like a hands down unanimous vote by the entire organization. But I'm not sure that too many people still have kickers in their leagues, but we don't have them in ours. But moving forward, man, we're gonna go ahead and discuss the top 25 quarterbacks for 2022, and of course, these guys are gonna be top picks in the PPR leagues this upcoming season. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and have the first pick out here. And I'm going to go with my guy, Patty Mahomes, man. There's nothing slowing that freight train down. I know the team has changed a little bit, but I still believe that the Kansas City Chiefs are stacked, man. They got a line. They got the running game. Patty Mahomes can run it, can sling it. He can do everything. Patty's just going to put up monster numbers. He almost threw 5,000 yards last year. And, again, a PPR monster. If you could always count on that guy to give you 30 to 40 fantasy points, depending on how your fantasy league was structured. In our league, he was just putting up crazy stats all season long. So, I think Patty is a hands down, I wouldn't say first round pick, but somebody could, come in and disrupt your league. So he's definitely the top quarterback anybody should get on their team.
Okay, second pick, I would take Josh Allen. And if I had the first, I would still take Josh Allen because this guy's putting up Patty-like numbers, or maybe a little bit less, but he's running for 600 yards with touchdowns. The guy's the running back. He's the quarterback. He's basically playing in someone's backyard every Sunday. Josh Allen's that guy. He's going to put up his 40 touchdowns, maybe even more. He's going to put up his yards. He's going to get that 3rd and 1. He's going to get that 3rd and 7. He'll get that. You can rely on him. He's going to keep the drive alive, keep the ball moving. Diggs is going to have a great year. We all know Knox is going to have a great year. We just talked about him earlier in the tight end segment. And then another guy, he has Gabe Davis that he can emerge on the scene as a good wide receiver. They still have, what's his name, the other receiver he was on the Broncos with Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders. He's an old head.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, they still got Cole Beasley. So, they're still running the show there in Buffalo, and Josh Allen is the focal point. It goes through him.
I like Josh Allen. I think he's the second coming after Tom Brady. Sorry about that, Bones. But, I don't think Tua has anything on Josh Allen now or later. He's going to ball out once again in your division. He's going to end up taking them far into the playoffs. I see it. I feel it. He's an amazing pick to have in your team right next to Patty.
Hurts my heart, bro, but I had him number 1 overall too, above Patty. Because, sometimes he'll just run for like 100 yards, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But speaking about another ridiculous young quarterback, he ascended last year, and I believe it's only going to keep going. And that's out in L.A., Justin Herbert.
Nice.
That boy a baller. That boy got the arm. That boy threw for 5 racks. He's only going to get better. I don't know if he'll do back-to-back 5,000, but damn near close to that for sure. With the touchdowns, he had, the man has it all. He also runs, tucks and runs. You'll get some rushing yards here and there. You can't go wrong with Justin Herbert. Top 3 for sure, all day, every day, in all your leagues all around.
Yeah, I like
easily 19 points and up.
I think he's one of those young guys. I started collecting his cards, and I was just like, is he really that good? Because now he's top 5. They're talking about top 5 territory. And if you look back at it, he's really that good. he's putting up that numbers. He's putting up those numbers. I mean, I think his coach Brandon Staley, they're doing a great job play calling, designing some plays that he likes to run, designing plays that he's familiar with, and just building that around him and Keenan Allen. And it's even allowed Mike Williams to get some stats because he's producing so well. So he's another guy. He's probably he's that top 3, top 4 pick, definitely in my eyes. But who do you got with the next pick, Jerry? Who you starting off with?
Well, just before we move on forward, I think Herbert, again, he's going to have a spectacular season. He's going to be one of those top guys in the West.
Get that.
It's definitely a new era. So it's for him to take it, man. I think aside from maybe Matthew Stafford and the Rams, he's a sure shot in there. So I'm very excited to see what comes out of the Chargers camp. And I think they're going to make it far into the playoffs, man. I think they're going to probably make it past the first round. So I'm hoping big things for him as well. For my next pick, and speaking of another top pick in the West, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. So now, he just signed that brand new deal.
All right.
And because they put that homework clause in his contract, he's going to come out gunning to try to prove to everybody that he's not at the crib playing Call of Duty and not studying the playbook and stuff like that. So he has a lot of things to prove, even though they retracted it, but the damage is done PR-wise. And I think he's going to come out gunning with something to prove, man. His competitive spirit is going to definitely show this season. He's going to put up crazy numbers.
Yeah, most definitely.
He's nice, but I want to see the chart on him. If you guys haven't noticed, there's a chart on him, Kyler Murray, every year.
Okay.
Whether he plays well early in the season, but then that Call of Duty drops. And then once that Call of Duty drops, every year, his stats go down. So every year, just keep an eye out. When that Call of Duty drops, if his numbers take a hit, it's not the first time.
We're gonna run the Kyler Murray Call of Duty study and see. And we're gonna study these metrics.
We're gonna see when the Call of Duty drops, how he performs before and after.
That's why he's my number 1 field agent at BNN. Got all the scoops.
So you took Kyler. With the next pick, I'll go with none other than Joey Burrow.
Ooh.
I don't know how he got 5 on us. Apparently,
I love that pick.
Apparently, we think
Joe Shiesty,
Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and Kyler Murray are better than Joe Burrow. And he does have an injury. He just had his gallbladder removed, I believe. So he'll be out.
I believe.
However, if he's not out for a game, more than a game or two, he's going to continue to put these numbers that he's been putting on. And I think per game is more important than the 2 games that he'll be missing. Because per game, he's QB1 territory. So, no one throws the ball more than the Bengals. So I think he's up there too, man. Joe Burrow's my 5th pick.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is that guy, man. He has Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon. Whew. He's stacked, man. He's stacked.
He's stacked.
Higgins, he's still got
T. Higgins. T. Higgins is nasty. Tyler Boyd still serviceable. A forgotten name, Tyler Boyd. I'm gonna bring him the first ahead of the list, right? He was forgotten for a lot of years, but this man always produced. And then last year, he finally made it over the top. Talking about none other than Matthew Stafford. Mighty gonna get it.
Yeah, he had a hell of a season. Finally got his ring. He took the Rams to the top, baby.
He's gonna get it, man. He has the Offensive Player of the Year, Cooper Kupp, damn near broke the record that he himself set with Megatron. Let's not forget. People saying, "Oh, okay, it's only because he had a stacked squad." Nah, he had it with 0 talent and only 1 option in Megatron. Did it twice. So, yeah, he's up there in age, but last year he showed that he can still, new scene, fresher breath air. So now he's out there balling left.
Now, when you say, he's up there in age, what does that mean anymore? You got Brady, he's 44. So you got Rodgers, these guys are in their late 30s. They still think they could go for another 5 years. They're like, oh, look at that guy. He can do it. Why can't I just won a Super Bowl. I just won an MVP. They think they can do it for another 5 years. And I think it's going to lengthen the life of quarterbacks.
That's a modern era. It's a modern era. It's a modern era. People started taking, for example, LeBron, like LeBron's blueprint. The man came out saying, I spent close to $1 million in rehab on my body. And it's your profession. Why not do it? Players are
I
taking
don't think I don't think it's that far, dude. I mean, football players compared to basketball players a little bit different.
I
It's
was talking about like
definitely a
treatment
new
in general.
it's definitely a new era. I don't think most of these football players even have $1 million to even put forward to that. But quarterbacks are just taking a lot less hits. You can't just do whatever you want with the quarterback anymore. You sure as
True.
hell can't chop them. You can't clothesline them. You could barely touch them. So as long as you have a decent center, a decent line, you can extend your quarterbacking career an extra 5 years. And that's
Right.
exactly what's going on with Brady. He's had a tremendous line. He's had a tremendous big guys,
True.
having his back, which is really important. And as long as you have big guys protecting you, man, I think quarterbacks, you got a point. They're going to be going well into their 40s if they could still do it. Because back in the day, man, they were just demolishing. If you had to play against Lawrence Taylor, you probably had 10 years best at the league, man, because they were just taking out legs, arms, everything, dude. The quarterback was just getting
Helmets.
Yeah,
manhandled
knock you
20,
out.
30 years ago.
You're getting smacked in the mouth. Yeah.
Exactly. So moving forward, I gotta go with my home team, baby. And I'm not from Philly, but I love me some Philly. Jalen Hurts, baby. I got him on my next pick.
Ooh.
Nice
Okay,
pick.
so he's gonna end up being a top quarterback in the NFC East, and he's gonna end up being a top quarterback coming out this year. All eyes are on him. The Eagles did not
Mm-hmm.
have the receiving core that they have this year, and all eyes are on Philly, man. Jalen Hurts is gonna definitely put up way more touchdowns than he put last year. Last year, he didn't even make it to 20 touchdowns. He had decent throwing yardage, but I'd like to see him throw a lot more touchdowns this year with his new receiving core, and he's gonna make a tremendous noise out there in Philly, man. He's definitely a top 10 pick, and I highly recommend for anybody in their PPR leagues.
Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts could do well. He has a new, shiny toy in AJ Brown, of course. He still got a couple pieces. We just talked about Dallas, not Dallas. Dallas Goedert. I think that he can take that next step as far as young quarterbacks. He can be ranked and moved up in that list. He can go up there. I like that pick a lot. I think he's going to be valuable. But moving forward, I got to go with the MVP, guys. He's still the reigning MVP. Let's not forget, especially if you're in leagues where you get 6 points per passing touchdown. You don't need a running quarterback because you can rely on a Rodgers to throw 40 or 30, 35 plus touchdowns, even on a bad year. We know he
Right.
lost Devontae Adams. So let's see if he can take, a no-name team like a Brady did later in his career. Let's see if Rodgers could do it for a couple years, make some young guys, move up in their own, lists. And I think Rodgers, he's going to have at least 30, 35 touchdowns and, keep the ball rolling. So I got him right under Jalen Hurts. So I like that pick so much. I'll take a Rodgers late. So I like Green Bay still.
I'm gonna go. I agree with you because A-Rod is still A-Rod. He's gonna make somebody a star or somebody's. Watch,
Right.
you'll see. That's exactly how it's gonna play out. And for another player that is gonna play out, especially with that bag on his mind, it's gonna be Lamar Jackson out in Baltimore. It
Nice
doesn't matter
pick.
how you see it. Doesn't matter what your opinion is of this man. This man's gonna get the points. The man is gonna get it. A few years removed from an incredible MVP season that took everybody by storm. Historical fantasy numbers that year. All right. So the dirt isn't. I know people trying to throw dirt on his game and his name, but I don't think he's there yet. I think he's still very productive. He's gonna have a hell of a season. And if you're still looking for a quarterback, Lamar Jackson, still the baller. Don't get
Something
that
that has
twisted.
me a little sketchy here is why is Baltimore taking so long to give him a brand new deal or an extension or more money? Up to this, he's on his final year of his contract. He's definitely looking to ball out, but it's kind of fishy that Baltimore isn't rushing to sign him. I mean, I don't think they have anyone else. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead with my next pick, and I brought out my Vegas chip for this one. Derek Carr, baby, he's gonna blow up. He's gonna blow up. He got Devontae Adams, he got Renfro, he got Waller, he got Josh Jacobs. What doesn't he have? He has the world in his palms, and is in Las Vegas. He's going to be a top tier West Coast quarterback out there. And I just want to remind you guys, this ain't Oakland. This ain't LA. It's a brand new era. Vegas got the sports books. They got all the action out there, bro. They're ready to blow. We had our 10th year anniversary out there. You saw how popping it is, guys. It's brand new. They're about to bust it open right there in the West Coast in a brand new city. Derek Carr is about to blow up, man. He came in top 5 in yardage last year, top 5 in yardage, and he was top 15 in touchdowns, man. So he's gonna put up a lot of PPR numbers, guys. Talk to me.
Yeah, I agree. He's gonna ball out. He has weapons left and right. He got Hunter Renfro. He has Darren Waller. He has Josh Jacobs. He has Devontae Adams. Yeah, he's gonna ball out. He's gonna put up his little numbers here and there. He was no stranger to throwing a couple 3 touchdown games last season. So yeah, fantasy wise, he's gonna get it.
Yeah, he's one of those quarterbacks. We got him at number what? Number 9 or number 10. But he could easily be
10.
top 5. Yeah, he could be top 5 though, with as much as they throw the ball. And we know he personally likes to sling it out. So he could get a few games with 370 yards and 2 touchdowns. He could get a few games like that. He doesn't need 3 touchdowns to put up some points. He can put up yardage. So, he's one of those QBs at the end of the year. You see what he racked up, and he's at the top of the league as far as yardage, as far as I'm concerned. And he's gonna get some touchdowns, especially with Devontae joining the scene. Obviously, he still has Waller. He still got Jacobs. You guys mentioned it. Renfro is that guy in the slot. Let's see what they have. Let's see what they're going to bring to the table this year. And if Cars can take that next step and lead them in the playoffs.
And let's not forget, he can also run the ball a little bit. So there's also that upside when he rushes the ball. Just in case the league wants to figure them out. You know what I mean? So they got a lot of weaponry, man. I'm really excited for them.
Nah, he got heart, so he'll run it. He'll bust out for 15 yards here and there. No, next pick.
Got with your next pick?
My next pick, I'm taking none other than I got Kirk Cousins on the scene. I think this is one of my hot takes this year. I think Minnesota could take another step forward. I think Justin Jefferson is going to be one of the top receivers in the league, and it's going to be because of Kirk Cousins. As much as people don't like to admit it, Kirk Cousins is a reliable quarterback. He's above average, but he's not top 10, and he's been that for a very long time. And I think this is one of those years he can finish top 10. He might not be top 7, top 5, but he can finish top 10. They have a great offense. They have They have Cook. They have Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook. They have Justin Jefferson. He's going to take that step. They got Adam Thielen still. He's going to continue to do what he's been doing. And as long as we've known Kirk Cousins for, he's going to get some yards. He's going to get those 4,400 yards. He's going to throw for his 20, 25, maybe 30 touchdowns this year. I think Jefferson's going to have a great year. He's going to have the year that Thielen was having when they still had Diggs. So now I think, Thielen falls back into his secondary role, and Jefferson takes that job and, secures himself as one of the better leading receivers in the NFL due to Kirk Cousins.
From my hot take in this episode, it's a player who's going to be taken a lot higher than he's being taken right now. And that's the Crib's very own. We'll talk about Lord. The God.
Oh,
the left
my
arm
God.
Of God.
Are you serious?
The left arm of God. Look at this.
Unbelievable.
Lefty. How you want it? He's the Samoan Russell Wilson.
Wow. That's a crazy take.
It's only gonna get better. That boy got that touch. That boy he got Tyreek Hill out here saying that he's the most accurate quarterback he's been with. It's going to be nasty. The yak is going to be insane. He's going to surprise everybody this year, and I can't wait to gather all the disrespectful takes that I'm going to hear within seconds and for all the weeks coming forward until it finally happens. You're going to see how Tua T is going to change the narrative around.
If Tyreek said that, bro, Tyreek did not say that. If he said that, then he's still in a euphoric state due to all the money they just gave him. He is not the most accurate player that he ever had. We all know Patrick Mahomes helped Tyreek Hill a lot for Tyreek Hill to come and say that Tua Tagovailoa is an accurate quarterback who can't really complete the ball more than 25 times a game or down the field. We know this. So
erroneous, humbug, nonsense, whatever adjective you want to use. Tua T gonna prove you wrong. It's gonna prove everybody wrong. It's gonna be a wonderful season. I expect a breakout offensive year from Tua T. He's gonna be somebody's savior in fantasy. Watch. He's got the weapons around him. He's got the speed. He's got the coach calling the right plays. I mean, the guy calling the plays for Tua T now took Jimmy Garoppolo to the Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo can't read defenses.
We're gonna talk about Tua Tagovailoa for 20 minutes every episode. Oh my God.
Listen. All eyes are on Tua. I personally don't think he's gonna perform very well. He's probably gonna be very underwhelming, but let's see. I'm all about them proving me wrong. Let's see if he could come through with the new weaponry he got. Let's not forget they got a rookie head coach, never been a head coach in his life. Okay. And let's see if he can handle the pressure. He's a left-handed quarterback. Let's see if he can drive it down the field. That's why I said Gesicki might be a better option for Tua, because if he can't get the ball down to Cheetah down the field, he is a damn cheetah. All right. If he can't throw the ball 60 yards, what'd you get Tyreek Hill for? So Gesicki, I think, is going to be that guy that's going to come in and pick up the scraps.
Right. Tua's going to throw bombs after bombs. He's going to shut everybody up. You're going to see.
All right. So, with your outlandish take, I'm going to go with something a little bit more reasonable, something more logical. And the only reason why this guy doesn't make the top 10 is because he's already over 40 years old. But he was number one in throwing yards, number one in touchdowns, and number two in QBR ratings. Tom Brady, baby. The legendary Tom Brady's just gonna come in and does what he does again. Now, as far as fantasy goes, I'm not sure if you can rely on him too much. You might have to get a backup just in case. He is 44 years old, 45 years old. So, one bad hit could take him out. He just lost his center for the season, I believe. He had a really bad injury. So he doesn't really have anybody protecting him. Doesn't have too many bodyguards around him anymore. But I think he's still going to put up solid numbers, guys. He threw 5,300 yards last year at age 44. And that's unheard of, guys. He looks like he's going to continue to play. I think he's going to come back next season again. He's not done with the game. But Tom Brady, guys, he's a solid pickup for some of you guys in the late rounds.
Yeah. Brady, I just cannot get past the Ryan Jensen injury or the Tristan Wirfs injury. Those two injuries are just what led them to the Super Bowl, what helped them out last year. I think the stats are going to change a lot. I don't want to say Brady falls off a cliff this year, but he's not putting the same stats he did last year. And that's why he fell in this list. He fell on this list. There's a lot of young QBs that are going to take that jump. We're talking about Jalen Hurts. We're talking about Joe Burrow. We would have never taken these guys above Tom Brady last year. And now he's falling. He's not even top 10 anymore. So, and it's evident that he's not. So he can still have a great year, but I don't think it's going to have anything near 5,000 yards. I think they fall back. And I think the Bucs fall on their faces a little bit this year. They don't really even go to the playoffs, in my opinion, with these injuries that they're getting.
I mean, yeah. So earlier today, they announced the Tristan Wirfs injury, and that's huge. That's huge. You losing your right tackle,
right.
losing your All-Pro center. It's why he dropped. No disrespect to the legend, because the legend proved everybody wrong. I myself was shocked that this guy was just throwing up dumb numbers in fantasy. I was like, yo, week in and week out, 25, 28, 34, just blowing up. Obviously, he can still sling it. The weapons are there. Just a matter of how the protection is going to hold up. Because of that, you got to take all those factors into account. And you got to just respectfully lower him in on your list. Wouldn't be so high on Brady. Don't go with the track record. Go with what's current, what's available. And what's available doesn't look too promising.
Yeah, he is the old reliable. We have to admit that he's been around since 2000. So he's a different type of guy. With my next pick, I'm going to go with another guy who's been kind of reliable, who has not been so healthy, but when he is playing, you can count on him. I'm going to go with Dak Prescott from the Cowboys. Guys, he's going to put up some numbers. I think he has a lot to prove. I think he was going to go with CeeDee Lamb this year as his main guy. We talked about Dalton Schultz. He's going to get some targets this year. They still got Michael Gallup as far as I'm concerned. They're going to give it to Zeke, Tony Pollard. They're going to mix it up a little bit, but I think Dak is in for 4,000 yards, and I hope he can stay healthy this year. I hope he can stay healthy, whether the Cowboys are good or bad, and it's going to be because of him. It's because of him. It's Zeke, Tony Pollard, and CeeDee. That's really what the team is on offense. On defense, they're good, but this team really is the face of this team is Dak Prescott, and he needs to take a step forward if he ever wants to be top 10. If not, he'll just be at this place, which is pretty much where he's been the past few years, which is average quarterback.
Yeah, I think Dallas definitely needs to kick it up a notch. Jerry Jones is going on his annual press conference. He's putting a tremendous amount of pressure on Zeke, to be exact, and Dak to get them far into the playoffs. The Cowboys were just named the most valuable franchise in the world, pretty much, at $7 billion. Jerry Jones's ego is astronomically huge. And, Dak, let's not forget, Dak is a $40 million quarterback, and we all know he's not a $40 million quarterback, with all due respect. I mean, you guys haven't done a damn thing in recent years. I mean, the Eagles won a Super Bowl right under your noses. So, and against the greatest of all time, we just spoke about it, against the greatest of all time with a backup quarterback and a brilliant head coach. You guys have been in limbo forever and a half. I think Dak, again, he's going to put up solid stats. He always does. He comes through in fantasy, but will he take the Cowboys very far? I'm not sure, but I think he's going to put up solid numbers. He got CeeDee Lamb. And I know Dak, likes to throw the ball every now and then to Zeke. So, he has the running game, he has the wings for it. So, it's time for him to kick it up a notch, like you said, X. He needs to become at least a top 5 quarterback ASAP.
Yeah. He's not top 5. He won't even be top 10. He's gonna be 17 to 10, and depending where he falls, there is where he's gonna be next year, because he's not a top 10 guy, but he can be top 15, and he should be top 15. He's getting paid like top 5. We know that, as you mentioned. But, he's the face of the most valuable franchise. He's a great guy. He's been getting it done for a long time. He got injured a few seasons, and that's why it was a bit tough to pay him. They didn't know what to pay him. So they paid him top money, and now we see if he could get some, I don't care how he does record-wise. If I get him to in any of my leagues, I just want him to perform,
Yeah.
Basically. Another guy who if he can stay healthy, he can produce. He showed he can produce at his one of his seasons in Tampa Bay. But now right now he's in the dirty in Louisiana. Jameis Winston. Another guy right.
That was under the radar. That's under the radar.
A lot of people forget about him, but he has Michael Thomas coming back. He still has Alvin Kamara, and somehow, some way, he's gonna find, a way to make something happen. He can be a quarterback and give you 300 to 400 yards with no touchdowns. Like, that's how big of an anomaly he is. But he has the skill, he has the arm, he has the skill set. Will he be consistent? Not really, but it's an option out there. You're still looking for quarterbacks at that point, and everybody else that we mentioned is gone.
Yeah, I got these guys doing well. I like Jameis a lot as well. I think, the recovery of Mike Thomas is a big question mark. We have to see how much of himself he is, or what he used to be. Let's see if he still has that in his tank. We know he had
Jameis himself.
Yeah, he had some of the bigger years early on in his career with Drew Brees, but now with Jameis, will they have that chemistry? So we'll just come back and fall right into stride, or will Taysom Hill somehow take over this team. We'll see how the Saints play out. But I like Jameis. I like Jameis in the spot. He's right in that tier with the Dax and the Toms. I think they're top 15. They might be top 20 QBs. I think they're all better than Tua though. That's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely will rank him higher than Tua just because he's already had experience in the league.
Never.
However, Jameis Winston is fresh out of throwing more interceptions historically than Vinny Testaverde. So, or just as many, interceptions. So it's going to be good to see a brand new Jameis Winston. I don't think this is the same Jameis Winston that we've been used to in college or even in Tampa. I've seen plenty of video recently. Michael Thomas looks phenomenal. I think he's back to 100. Jameis Winston is still somewhat wearing his knee brace. Remember, he had a bad knee injury back a few years ago. And I just don't think he's a mobile quarterback anymore. So the Jameis Winston that we're going to see now is a Jameis that sits in the pocket, and he's going to find his receivers. He has Kamara. He has Michael Thomas. I think he's in a great opportunity to capitalize. And if he doesn't, it's going to be a shame because Taysom Hill is right behind him, ready to take his job. And let's not forget the Saints have a new head coach. They're under a new direction. So it's a definitely new era in New Orleans. I think your pick was phenomenal, dude. I mean, he's just flying under the radar. I don't know anyone that's talking about Jameis Winston. And I firmly believe he's going to be the QB1, barring injury, barring any other politics that may happen. Jameis Winston is that dude in New Orleans. With my next pick, and I'm only ranking him this far high. We are about 16th pick here. I'm gonna go with Trey Lance. He is the brand new Capitan out there in San Francisco. Deebo Samuel just signed his brand new deal, so he has his he has a receiving core ready to go. He's a young quarterback. He took a few snaps last year, but nonetheless, he did very well for the very few snaps that he had. He completed over 50% of his throws with the little playing time that he did have. So he's gonna be a rock star out there, man. What do you guys think?
Okay, all right, I see that. I mean, he's gonna have to produce. If he's gonna be given the keys. He has Deebo, which is one of the biggest X factors in all of football. So he's definitely gonna be getting production, right? Now it's up to him because the slate is set up for him to blow the league, right? He has a team that's pretty decent. And all he has to do is produce. And it's a young man's game. We're going to see, if he has what it takes pretty soon, too.
I think he's going to produce in wins. I don't see him producing so much in fantasy-wise. I think on the field, I think Niner fans will love him and they'll argue with people, even if he's not getting top numbers. But he'll get some numbers. I think he'll get some wins, actually. The numbers that he'll have, I don't think they're going to blow you away. Maybe he might have some weeks where he goes off. But, anyone can have some weeks like that. But if he takes over, if he gets his job full time, I think he'll produce more in wins. With Kyle Shanahan calling the show, they're still going to be a run-heavy team. Let's not forget that. They still got Eli Mitchell. We know they're going to get the ball. They're going to run it with Deebo as well. Trey Lance, he doesn't have to have 30 passing touchdowns and 4,000 yards. He can get 3,000 passing yards. He might run the ball for 700. We know they can mix it up, get some trick plays going. They can have Kittle throwing the ball. This team is weird. Kyle Shanahan is going to call some weird plays because that's just what he does, and he won't put so much of the load onto Trey Lance's shoulders his first year at least. So he's going to take it lightly. I don't see him getting crazy numbers, but I see him producing in wins. I do like the pick, but above him, I would actually take a Russell Wilson, who he's in a new situation now in Denver. We know one of his weapons went down actually today when Tim Patrick. A lot of writers are saying that he tore his ACL, so that's very unfortunate. We hope he can recover well. All best out to Tim Patrick. But Russell Wilson still has a few other targets. He still has Cortland Sutton. He has Jerry Jeudy. So these are two guys who, they have had their weeks. They've had their time in fantasy. But if they can get something going, they can be productive and make it consistent. They can have a great resurgence, in their own careers along with Russell Wilson. So let's see what he can do in Denver. Let's see how that run game goes. And I think Russell could produce. I see him getting some numbers, guys. I think it's going to be more than Pete Carroll's offense, which was run heavy. I think they're going to be throwing more. And I think Russell's excited to prove himself as more of a passer than just that run heavy offense, that we've known him for.
Yeah, I think if the receivers can stay healthy, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, because Russell Wilson is very consistent. He misses very little time most of the time. Very consistent quarterback. Loves to come into work. Loves to be in practice. He's a straight up captain out there. But if his receiving core can stay healthy, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, they're gonna make a lot of noise. I just think it's an overall new era out in Denver, and they're just doing different things. I'm a big Formula One fan. Shout out Lewis Hamilton today, who became part owner of the Denver Broncos. You don't see that very often. They're now taking on all these celebrities that are world champions, and they're not mixing it in, and they're using Russell Wilson as the ambassador for that. So I see a lot of waves being made out there. I think he's prepping himself for a big move down in the future. I think he has a second wind left in him, and let's see if he can get another ring under his belt. He's still pretty young.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and let's not forget, he also has Noah fans out there with him too. So, it's just there's no track record of what he's gonna do out there in Denver. Like, like our
no offense on the seat, brother. He got traded for him.
Oh, true. My bad, my blending. Now, speaking about a new era altogether, it's my next pick and the last pick out here. It's going to be out down in Jacksonville. Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be my surprise pick of most improved player coming up this season. Last year, terrible year, obviously, right? But this year has some weapons coming out there with him. He also has a new coach, Super Bowl winning coach out there in Doug Peterson. He's saying that it's night and day out here. What he had with Urban Meyer was just a clown or like a circus show. So that's going to be my pick. The man obviously has game. From what people are writing out there already about him is that, it's what he had in Clemson. He could read defenses. And if you can read defenses in the NFL, you can make it. So I think this year he's going to surprise people. He's going to put up some yardage. Nothing too crazy. If you're looking for a quarterback at this point, I mean, you might as well take a chance on Trevor Lawrence down there in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I don't think Trevor Lawrence got a fair shot in his rookie season. Urban Meyer came in, treated it as a complete joke. He thought he was still in the NCAA, chilling with college kids.
Right.
I feel bad for him. I mean, it was a complete disaster for Jacksonville as usual. Okay, let's not forget that Jacksonville has been historically terrible. All right, but I like Sunshine. I really believe in that kid. I think he needs to start fresh again. He needs to get a retry. I know we can't erase it from last year, but I think he's gonna get his retry this year with Doug Peterson. He is an offensive genius, in my opinion. And he's probably gonna be able to handle or be able to play call Jacksonville a lot better than they did last year. I don't think they're gonna be a good team overall, but maybe Trevor will get some fantasy points or do a lot better than what he did last year. As you know, he was also plagued with not himself, but the team was plagued with a lot of injuries as well. So it was just kind of a disaster last year. I'm excited to see him what he got to do this year. I firmly believe this is going to be a restart. So, with that being said, and I'm surprised by your pick, and I'm surprised that you picked him that far high. At 19, I'm going to pick Mac Jones. And, only because Bill Belichick now made Matt Patricia completely in charge of the offense. And I'm hearing something about him getting rid of his coordinators, but he's just making Matt Patricia completely in charge of the offense. And as you've seen before with Tom Brady, they've won rings. He knows the system. He had a stint out in Detroit. It was another disaster. All right. He came right back to New England. And I think Mac Jones is going to do very well. He was top 15 and everything last year, pretty much. And I just want to see him get more yards, more touchdowns. So let's see what Matt Patricia can do with him with Belichick. And, Belichick been speaking very highly of him, something that he didn't do very much with Tom Brady. So it's going to be interesting to see what Mac Jones has left in the tank this year, baby.
We'll see what Mac Jones could do. I know he doesn't throw the ball much. That's why I wouldn't take him myself. He had a game with three passing attempts last year. To me, it's just a run-heavy team. They got a bunch of running backs. They still got Stevenson. They still got um,
Harris.
Harris. They still got J.J. Taylor. They still have a bunch of guys. I think it's just going to be the same old, same old. Matt Patricia and Bill Belichick running the ball down the AFC's throat, and just getting the wins that they can. But I wouldn't take him. My next pick after Mac Jones, I'm going to stay in the same division. I'm going to take Zach Wilson. This kid, he's on the Jets. However, they're not
The
good.
goat of the offseason.
They're not good, bro. They're not good. But we know they're going to be down. And when you're down in games, you're going to be throwing the ball. So he's going to have a terrible record with a bunch of stats and a bunch of garbage stats. And he might have more games with 2 or 3 touchdowns than he should. You know, they might lose by 2 or 3 touchdowns, but then he might throw for 2 or 3 touchdowns. So I think that's going to be the story of the Jets. They might give up a lot of points, and then in fighting to come back, they might score 20. You know, and he just comes through. And we know he has some talent. He had some games last year where he was putting it in the right spot, looking like a baby Rodgers at some points. And I think he can take a step forward, and I think he'll have more more success than a Mac Jones or even more than a Trevor Lawrence. You know, I think he can have some stats fantasy-wise. I'm not saying he's going to get wins. I just see him getting some stats due to the desperateness that they'll have on that offense.
Definitely.
Yeah, I see that. All right. Well, then for my next pick, I mean, at this point, I'm gonna go to Tennessee. Take Ryan Tannehill.
Oh, your old buddy over there, your old Dolphin, the quarterback captain.
The boy.
Hey man. He wasn't that far away from a Super Bowl with King Henry running the ball down there in his first year. And ever since he's been to Tennessee, he's been a productive quarterback. He'll have some great games. He'll have some so-so games, and then he'll have some Ryan Tannehill games. It's just what he needs. A run-heavy offense to throw the ball less than 20 times a game. Sometimes, those passes may go for touchdowns. I think he had 2 games last year where he threw 3 touchdowns. Like someone heard of shit from Ryan Tannehill. So, yeah, a productive quarterback and a pretty productive offense. And yeah, at this point, a low-tier quarterback option if this is what you need. Maybe a backup, maybe to fill in for a bye week. Ryan Tannehill may have a favorable matchup every now and then, so just be on the lookout. If your quarterback gets injured, if you have an early bye week, why not take a little waiver on him? Can't go wrong.
Because his team's not good.
Like I said, it's more of a backup contingency plan than it is a or B plan.
Right, yeah, I wouldn't pick Ryan Tannehill as a starter for my fantasy team. Yeah. I would basically stash him on my bench. He can be very consistent. I was big on him very early on in his career when he was at the Dolphins. Even drafted him a couple of times. But I think that's as far as it goes. Their receiving core has changed a lot, and it pretty much just leaves him with Derrick Henry. So we'll see. I would definitely pick him as something to stash on my bench for perhaps a bye week. And it's a strategic move. But with my next pick, I'm going to go with an old flame from Philly who didn't work out very well, but still managed to win a ring. He took us pretty far. Unfortunately, I'm going to go with Carson Wentz and the Commanders. The Commanders are freaking stacked, man. I mean, I'm as much as I hate to speak on the Commanders, formerly the Redskins, and shout out to Andre Perez, the Bolivian Siberian. He'll be on our show very, very soon. He is a tremendous Commanders fan out there in Fairfax, Virginia. And Carson got a lot of weapons around him, guys. He's on his 3rd team. He's not even 30 years old. He keeps losing control of the locker room or perhaps losing the respect of his peers. So his leadership has come into question a lot. But, even last year, he was top 20 in receiving yards, throwing yards, and in touchdowns. So, and he was just out there on an island in Indianapolis. It didn't work out immediately. They got rid of him, ended up in Washington. And now he has, proper weaponry. So, if he stays healthy and he manages to get a grip on his leadership skills, I think he could take, he can make noise out in the NFC East. Not more than the Eagles. Let's not get it twisted. but he can make some noise. Maybe perhaps gives the Giants a run for their money because I'm not seeing the Cowboys doing anything.
I like Wentz. I like the Wentz pick. I wouldn't take him myself. We all know they still have Antonio Gibson. They have J.D. McKissick. I think they have a 1-2 punch, but I think they're gonna go power run. I think that's a power run team. I think Wentz is gonna do more of what he did last year in Indianapolis, where he just handed the ball off to Jonathan Taylor. Of course, I think this year he'll do more of that with Antonio Gibson. They still have Terry McLaurin. They still have, Logan Thomas. They have a bunch of great options to throw to. I just don't think he's going to do great fantasy wise. I think he's another guy. He can beat the Cowboys a few games. He can beat the Eagles maybe once or twice. The Commanders can have a decent year. They have a great defense. So I don't see them having to rely on Wentz so much for numbers as much as my next pick, because I think the next pick, and I'm going to stay within the division, I got Daniel Jones getting some numbers, guys. Now, we're seeing, lower tier. Yeah, we're talking about lower tier quarterbacks ever since you took Tua, right?
Oh my God.
Right? Out of all the guys that we named, from Tua to Brady to Jameis to everyone, out of everyone that we named, I'm not sure if any of their teams or any of their quarterbacks are in a position like Daniel Jones. The Giants didn't take his 5th-year option. They declined it, meaning that next year they're in the quarterback market. And it might be him. Because if he puts up stats this year, no one's more compelled to have a great year than Daniel Jones, because he could get the bag. Imagine Daniel Jones with one good year and he gets top 5 money. Imagine that. He'll be like the next Dak Prescott.
Basically,
right.
Yeah.
So with that mindset, knowing he has to perform, he has options. He has Kadarius Toney. He has Kenny Golladay. He has Darius Slayton. These are 3 targets in the end zone that he can throw it to. Now, slot-wise, he has Sterling Shepard. He has Wan'Dale Robinson, the 3rd-round pick. And he's looking great in minicamp. So I think Coach Daboll will bring some of what Josh Allen was doing in Buffalo. I think he'll bring some of those spread formations. There's not going to be one target like an Odell Beckham that balls out. I think they're going to be more of a group effort. I think a lot of these receivers I just named will have at least 700 or at least 500 or 600 yards, let's say. But it'll be a few of them instead of one guy having 1,000 yards. I think it could be a mix of Barkley and a mix of these other guys that compel for, a decent offense. I don't think the Giants will have many wins this year. So they'll be playing from behind. And we know when you play from behind, you throw the ball and you spread the offense out. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to run some of those Bills, play sets. And, I think Daniel Jones is going to put up some points, guys. He just has to stay on the field and he will put up points. Mark my words.
That's exactly how I feel about my next pick, and it's Matty Ice out in Indianapolis. I feel like he's going to do the exact same thing with the Colts. There's already reviews of his players raving about his leadership, the way he's been attacking it. It's like he has a fire lit up under him. And, well, yeah, he can be productive. Bottom tier quarterback at this point. It's a weak division. So he might get, the Jags out there in the AFC South. So we'll see. I feel like he's going to be a productive quarterback on a bottom, on a mid-level team.
Yeah, we'll see what he does. I got him in that range, so he's on the bottom of the league. It's a run-heavy team. They got, you still got other quarterbacks as well you can take at the bottom. You still got Justin Fields. You got, he's available. You still have, of course, even the other quarterback from the Jets, Jones, or what's his name? Matt White, I think his name is.
Yeah, what about the controversy? Controversy down in Carolina.
Carolina has a controversy, but I don't see anyone taking Baker at all. So
which brings me to my next pick and the final pick here, the 25th pick here. I'm gonna go with Baker, man. I just think he's a shoe-in. He's a shoe-in in Carolina. I don't believe it's Darnold. I mean, it's been embarrassing for that kid. Every time they show up to camp, they're like, Baker. The paparazzi, everybody's after Baker Mayfield. However, if he doesn't do anything in Carolina, I believe he's either going to be the bench quarterback for the rest of his career, or he's going to end up in the XFL because he threw the ball less than 300 times, or he had less than 300 completions last year. So if you want to talk about a guy that didn't throw the ball very much, Baker Mayfield's up there, and he had a lot of picks at that. He almost had the same amount of picks as he had touchdowns. He needs a resurgence out there in Carolina. He's already a shoe in for QB1. I saw him throw crazy throws to Robbie Anderson, who didn't really sound like he wanted to play with him very much. But I think it's the last stop for Baker Mayfield before he becomes a permanent bench player or he ends up in the XFL trying to prove something else. But yeah, that's gonna end my list at the 25th pick. There's a lot of controversy out there in Carolina, and can't wait to see what they got, man. They got a crazy situation. He got McCaffrey, he got DJ Moore, he got Robbie Anderson. It's not like he's by himself, so he can do some work out there. He has some decent weaponry, so we'll see what he has in the tank, man.
We'll see. I mean, no, regardless of what he has, I still have Sam Darnold playing at least a few games. You know, you got to see what both quarterbacks can bring to the table. I think they might start the year with the quarterback they like most from camp, but then depending how that player performs, I think they're going to lose regardless. So then you put in the other quarterback, and then he loses a few games, and then okay, let me put the quarterback that we started with again. Then they'll put Baker back, and then they're still going to lose. So I think they'll have a bad year. They're just going to be switching quarterbacks back and forth, and neither one is the answer. We're talking about the bottom of the league here, of course. We're talking about the 25th, 26th ranked QBs. I think you rank Baker right next to Darnold. You know, they're right next to each other. One is going to ball, one is not going to do well.
They're a tie.
Right, they're going to be right there. You know, they're along at the bottom. There's still a bunch of sleepers on the board. We only picked top 25. We couldn't get to everyone. We still had Justin Fields on the board. You still got Jared Goff on the board, who's another quarterback who's going to be playing come from behind ball. And, they're just going to be slinging it. Along with the kid down in Houston, you got Davis Mills. He's, at the bottom of the list as well. Let's see what these guys can do. And if one of them can take a jump from the bottom of this list into an average quarterback or above average, even if they become average quarterbacks, this league is filled with quarterbacks. You're going to get a ton of value no matter what round you pick in. So, don't go so quick to get a quarterback. You don't need one that early. You can stumble on on a running quarterback that can get you some great points depending how your league is structured. And, the list is the list, so we come up with it on our own. And these are the picks that we would get.
Yeah, and that's a great top 25 that we have here, but we can't end the show without speaking about the man of the hour that everybody's been waiting for. And we, again, we can't end the show without speaking about this top tier quarterback that everybody's been dying to see again out in the field. And that is Deshawn Watson, who was just handed a 6-game suspension with no fine by an independent judge from the NFL. And now the NFL has time to appeal that decision, but there is no telling whether they're going to keep him at 6 games or they're going to request more games and more fines because there's a lot of players around the league, a lot of executives and coaches that don't believe that Deshaun Watson got enough of a punishment based on that 6-game suspension. But, he's in a new situation out in Cleveland. He hasn't played it since 2020, which is almost 2 years now that he's been sitting down. But last that he was in the league, he was number 1 in throwing yards. He was definitely top 5 in touchdowns. He was under 10 interceptions. His QBR rating was great. And everybody's excited to see him. But at this point, it looks like he's going to end up missing 6 games out of the season. Now, it depends when this suspension is going to take place. But I'm hearing that if the NFL doesn't have Deshaun Watson's back and they request more suspension, then Deshaun is just going to end up suing the NFL, which we all know how that ends, a la Colin Kaepernick. So what do you guys think? Should anybody take Deshaun Watson in a draft? I mean, he's definitely going to become available if he takes his suspension at the beginning of the season, he's going to be available week 7.
Mm-hmm. It's a gamble, huge gamble, one that I wouldn't take. Now, if he wasn't facing suspension, he's a top 10 quarterback taken, even with the 2 years out, because This man at one point in the playoffs had Patrick Mahomes on his heels. This is a top 5 quarterback all day, every day in America, right? Fantasy wise, after 2-year layoff, I would have taken him a little being on the bottom 10, but top 10 regardless. I don't know if you would draft him. I wouldn't draft him. I would definitely. If the quarterback that I chose isn't panning out, I would definitely put in some waiver wires real early, and and stick my money out on Deshawn Watson. That is, that some people are going to come up with that scenario. Whoever you pick at QB isn't panning out, so put in a good waiver ahead of time before anybody else does, and then you're stuck with Deshaun Watson, who's definitely going to go out there with something to prove.
Yeah, I can't get over your background, bro.
The greatest, bro. It's Tua. It's coming for everybody. You see the window? 4th and inches. Who you going for? Big ball Tua. Big play Tua.
Oh my God. I think he's a 2-star athlete. I don't think he's gonna be, to much fantasy.
Says who? Mr. Daniel Jones. I'm hearing this from a guy that called this franchise quarterback Danny Dimes.
Okay, how much we betting that Daniel Jones has a better year than Tua? How much we betting?
A public video apology written by the other person himself.
I can't do that, bro.
Then that shows how much confidence you have in this deal. I am fully committed right here on live, on recorded evidence. On recorded evidence that Tua's gonna have an amazing year. And when he does, why you invite this gambling degenerate in my presence, Jerry?
Listen. Back to Deshaun. I think they should stash him and at the bench. If you guys are gonna draft Deshaun, you stash him, all right? But aside from that, it's very tricky because we don't know what the outcome is going to be. We don't know what Roger Goodell is going to do. At the end of this, it's pretty much up to Roger Goodell now. And if it doesn't work out in Deshaun's favor, then he will more than likely go ahead and sue the NFL, which will probably be the last time we see him in a football uniform. So, it's very tricky, guys, but it's very important to see because he looks great out there. He looks like he has a good handle of the team, a better handle than Baker had out in Cleveland, that's for sure. And I think the players are excited to be with a quarterback of his caliber. I feel like Cleveland actually feels like they can win. But with this sticky situation, I mean, it doesn't seem like Deshaun has a lot of friends around the league right now, a lot of support around him. And I'm just hoping that it's just a 6-game suspension. But I think it's going to end up being maybe a 10-game suspension. And they're going to hurt his pockets to make sure that he feels it. Because up to this point, he's only lost money with these legal fees and these lawyers, but not through the league. And he's still up for a guaranteed contract. So it should be interesting to see, guys. So, that brings our episode now to an end. The top 25 quarterbacks and the top 15 tight ends to look forward to in the PPR Leagues 2022. This is Raw Fantasy Sports, the Raw Report. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment. Show us what you got. Talk to us, man. Look us up on Instagram at Raw Fantasy Sports. I am your host, Jerry. My co-host, X, and Bone Santana. We're going to see you next week with a brand new episode. We'll be talking wide receivers. You don't want to miss it. We got a lot to cover. See you later, guys.
Let's go.